Good morning, everyone. Before we start the meeting, I request everyone to please raise for the Institute motto followed by national anthem. जाग सिंधु गुजरात मराठा बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जगति तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे वाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे भारत माता की जय। Good morning again, friend. Friends, it's my pleasure and honor to welcome you all of you to today's seminar on a subject that is becoming increasingly relevant in our professional journey. Understanding internal audit, evaluating opportunity, and growing practice. A, we know everyone, the business environment becomes more dynamic and regulatory expectations continue to evolve. Internal audit is no longer just a compliance function. It has transformed into a strategic value-adding tool. Friends, our today's session aims to guide us on how to identify opportunity, enhance our skill set, and build a sustainable and expanding practice in the domain. And to enlighten us on this very important topic, we are privileged to have with us CA Murtaza Kanchwala sir, past chairman of WIRC, a highly respected professional, a visionary leader, and someone who has mentored countless members through his practical insights and rich experience. Sir, your presence truly evaluates today's seminar. इनके लिए तो बस इतना ही कहना है कि सच को दे, सच सच को देकर, सोच को देकर नई राह, ज्ञान का दीप जलाते हैं, और मुर्तजा सर जैसे मार्गदर्शक हम सबको और बेहतर बनाते हैं। नाउ आई इनवाइट आवर पास्ट कन्वीनर सीए जयेश ठक्कर जी to give a brief introduction of our speaker, Sir Murtaza sir.
Thank you, Convener sir. Good morning, members. Now to formally introduce our today's learned speaker, I would like to start his introduction from the words. He is the very humble, anytime available, a phone call away, chairman, past chairman of WIRC. I have seen, because there are many leaders are available in the institute, but one of the leader to whom I have seen since last many years, who is just a phone call away, is our today's speaker, CM Murtuza Kachwala. CM Murtuza Kachwala is a past chairman of WRC. During the tenure, his tenure was 2022-23. He has served as a past secretary of WRC of ICI for the year 2021. He has served as a deputy convener at Kalyan CP Study Circle. He is also served as a secretary and vice chairman, chairman at Kalyan Dombivli branch of WRC of ICI. Murtuza is the fellow chartered accountant. He is the Bachelor of Commerce and Master of Commerce, Cost Management Accountant, Certified Internal Auditor, Certified Information System Auditor, and has also done the Diploma in Information System Audit. He is currently a member on the advisory board at the Symbiosis Institute of Telecommunication Management at Pune, India. Having a vast 3 decades professional experience providing the business and technology consulting to the large organizations domestically as well as international. Currently, Murtuza is managing director at the Protiviti. He is the market leader for the Protiviti in India. In past, Murtuza has worked in organizations like Ferguson's and Company, Hinduja Group, Vodafone. So he has served many large organizations, and he is a regular, been invited as a regular speaker at various forums. Occasionally writes in the magazines, journals, and other publications. So this is the short and brief introduction about our today's speakers. We welcome you, sir. On behalf of JB Nagar CP Circle, we welcome our today's speaker with a round of applause.
For giving token of appreciation, I invite Rajesh ji, CA Rajesh ji, and Kumawat ji to come forward.
Good morning, all. Good morning. Thank you. So I felt like I have been to JP Nagar earlier, and they gave me a choice, a first session or second. Sunday morning, 8:45, I thought, well, it's little harsh to complete the CP. लेकिन November month है तो मैं तो हजार लोग आ जाएंगे. But I think good. So first, let me thank Kailash. Kailash, thank you very much. And Jayesh bhai, we have worked together in the past, and all the other committee members. And a big thanks to each and every one of you for being here on this Sunday morning. We are at about 9:22 and 10:45 I have to close, which means we'll have about 1 hour 20 minutes. But no worries, we'll cover our other social political will extend, but otherwise we'll try and cover. So before I start, how many are from industry today? Industry and finance function or audit function? 3, 4, okay, 5, 6 of them. And how many are practicing in internal audit? Just started. Okay. So there are quite a few who are still not practicing in internal audit also. So थोड़ा और basic जाएंगे. People who have the knowledge have patience with me and can support me by answering whatever I ask, and otherwise, that's it. What is the expectation from today's session? Any expectation आप लोग को सोच के पाए मैं लेके क्या करूँ? Quickly. Perfect. So if there are different industries, will it change what is required to be done? What should be the thought process? And what do you add? Very good.
I'd like to know what the future of internal audit, keeping in mind if tomorrow the government makes things easy and makes it not mandatory, right? It's mandatory to companies, there's a criteria. But let's assume tomorrow they say if you want to make life easy and you want to remove this off. So what's the future going to be?
Very good. So again,
What the graduation can be done? New graduation.
value addition is important. Otherwise, there's no कोई पैसा खर्चेगा नहीं internal audit के ऊपर. Yes.
Okay, both of them, if you can just touch upon the reporting part to the extent possible. Because in internal audit reporting, how the way we present our report, it means
Very good. So reporting again, there are standards also. And how do we report, what do we do, and what are the nature of assignment, what are the type of assignments? Fortunately, unfortunately, maybe like the standards are not mandatory. And appointment under 138, which is compulsory, is like way too less as compared to the type of organization that we have. So that way, but there are a lot of organizations who are like on their own also doing to ensure that changes happen, efficiency and effectiveness come in. But like if that is also removed, then what will happen? So I think good question. Excellent. What I'm trying to do is like as we go through the whole next 40-45 minutes, we'll also look through all the SIAs which the institute has issued. Okay. SIA on its own अगर पढ़ना है तो it becomes very difficult, boring. So we'll quickly touch, we'll move ahead, we'll quickly touch, we'll move ahead. But at least a glance हो जाएगा like what are the standards which institute has issued.
आप करो
So we all know of the Auditing and Assurance Standard Board, AASB, which comes up with the accounting standard, the auditing standard, and the guidance note. And that helps us in our statutory audit, prior public limited company, tax audit, etc. Similarly, the institute has also formed a Internal Audit Standards Board, IASB. And the Internal Audit Standards Board has come up with SIAs. जैसे उधर स्टैंडर्ड ऑडिटिंग ऐसे है और अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स है, वैसे यहाँ पे SIAs है. And SIAs have been issued by institute. Again, they are in different series, 100, 200, 300. We'll look at that. Now, see like in India, There are two type of people. One who are in industry, who are chief audit executive or HIA, head of internal audit. And they don't outsource also. They do the audit themselves and they issue the report. And there are organizations where the upon CA fund like us, and where we go and do the work. So that way. Now, in both the cases, not necessarily the internal head will be a CA only. कितनी जगह पे MBA से इंजीनियर से ग्रेजुएट से बीकॉम ग्रेजुएट भी ऑडिट हेड है या ऑडिट रिपोर्ट इशू कर रहे हैं तो इसके लिए फॉर इंस्टीट्यूट टू मेक इट कंपल्सरी बिकम्स रियली डिफिकल्ट द स्टैंडर्ड्स विल हैव टू बी नोटिफाइड अंडर द कंपनीज एक्ट then only it will be equally enforced and hence right now it is recommended and whenever it becomes mandatory that time the institute says first will be applicable to those organizations where internal auditors are appointed under section 138. That is what they are trying to say. Don't want to spend much time, we'll quickly go ahead. If you look at the whole framework, it talks about basic principle, key concepts, then standards, and then the guidance note. But the core and the most important is the code of ethics. Ethics remains important, ethics and integrity are very, very important. And then there is a definition of internal audit which has been given there. Now, there are these key concepts which are given, and there are SIAs on that, we'll cover that. There are 90 standards which have been issued till date. And again, there are these principles which we'll talk about as we go ahead. But before that, when we go to the internal audit definition, it is an independent function. You need to look at the effectiveness of risk controls, identify the risk, look at the effectiveness of the control, ensure that the governance is there properly and help the organization achieving the objective. That is what it says. Okay, what is independent, etc. we'll see as we go ahead. Now, assuming I am appointed as an auditor in a company and where my wife is the CFO, will I be independent in issuing the observation or report which comes out? The answer is possibly no. Similarly, assuming you are working in a company and you wrote the complete accounting manual for procure to pay, you are the procurement head, and then all of a sudden you become audit head, your job changes. Then should you pick up procurement as a process and review? Will you be able to come up with the weaknesses in the policy procedure? Answer is no. So that is where independence is impacted. Similarly, you know in the companies act also it says your chief audit executive should not report to the CFO or someone internally, but should report to the board or audit committee. That is what it says. That brings independence. The companies are given goes on to say that with the audit committee, the internal auditor should have one-on-one in-camera session. So that उनको अगर कुछ भी बोलना है कंपनी के बारे में तो ओपनली खुल के बोल सके, ठीक है? तो फॉर लार्जर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन दैट इज आल्सो हैपनिंग. अगेन इंटीग्रिटी एंड ऑब्जेक्टिविटी उसके बारे में कुछ ज्यादा बोलने की जरूरत नहीं है. इंटरनल ऑडिट इज नॉट अबाउट विच हंटिंग. यू डोंट गो बिहाइंड समवन कि अच्छा ये बंदे ने मेरे को ऐसा बोला था मैं इसके पीछे जाके इसके कुछ ऑब्जर्वेशन निकाल के लिख देंगे. नो, नथिंग लाइक दैट. यू हैव टू बी ऑब्जेक्टिव. Look at the process end to end, understand that properly. If something comes up, then you report, otherwise you drop it. Total of patience you have with me. 10 minutes is a little theory and then we come to practical. You will get the opportunity to talk then. You professional care. Again, see at times what happens is we ask for data. Client हमको data Excel में दे देता है और फिर हम लोग उसके ऊपर काम करना चालू. लेकिन वो data complete है क्या, वो देखा है क्या? Have we seen that? So first thing when we do statutory audit also we see whether all PO are there in serial number, is any PO missing, what was the last cutoff on 31st March, कोई चीज छूट तो नहीं गया है, the client has not removed anything and given to us. And generally we tell the client to give me access to your data and download the report myself. And the client should give you. If they do not give you, then you say okay मैं तुम्हारे बाजू में आके बैठता हूँ, डाउनलोड करता हूँ और मैं देख लेता हूँ. He says no. Then you say, okay, I'll sit with you, you download and mail it to him. So that he does not get an opportunity to manipulate. If that also does not happen, then you apply your some formula. You look at the purchase in the GSTR, look at the purchase register, do the total match everything. Due professional care, due professional care is important. Whether you do statutory audit, tax audit or internal audit or whatever. If the data is not correct, then are you negligent in your duty? The answer is yes. That basic care will have to be taken. Confidentiality. I am doing audit for sales function, Jayeshbhai is the sales head. Generally, when I send my opening memo, I'm going to come and do the audit, I will write to the sales head, mark a copy possibly to the CFO and few other people in the organization. And I'll tell him, okay, when will I start, when will I end, who will be my team, what is the scope of work, when do I start, when do I end, etc. etc. Now, when the report is being done, I speak to his team members, get the answers, draft report pay, then finalize, give it to him. While issuing the report, I should issue the report to the person who is responsible, who needs to know, which means to him, with a copy to the CFO and whoever. But then I should not go and talk to the HR and say, "Arey, wo sales mein dekho aisa gadbad ho raha hai." Or go to the IT audit and keep talking. Or go outside the organization and keep talking. That is what it says by meaning confidentiality. Only when a regulator, a law enforcement agency comes to you, then only you are bound to share. Otherwise, the answer is no. So distribute only to the approved list, identify which function, who will get or not get ethic law. Skills and competency. I say internal audit according to me is not scratching the surface. ऊपर से कुछ देगा, green tick मारा, उससे काम होने वाला नहीं है. Like madam was asking, if you want to add value, when you are an internal auditor, always remember that you need to add value. कुछ तो value लाना पड़ेगा टेबल पे, पैसा बचाना पड़ेगा, process efficient करना पड़ेगा, ensure that there are no non-compliances. And which means I have now started believing that you should have industry knowledge. The in-depth industry knowledge is very, very important. And then knowledge of the processes is very, very important. We as chartered accountants are trained in such a way, articleship के टाइम से अगर थोड़ा छोटा या मिड साइज फर्म में काम किया है तो आज ऑडिट कर रहा हूं मैन्युफैक्चरिंग का, कल होटल का, परसों हॉस्पिटल का. Jack of all, expert in everything. But when I talk about in hotel industry, the revenue is completely different. Then in hospital में inpatient है जो admit होता है, outpatient है वो अलग है. वो inpatient या outpatient का एक्सरे लिया तो एक्सरे मशीन में कितना टोकन है और कितना बिलिंग हुआ उसका कंपैरिजन ताकि कोई चोरी नहीं कर रहा है. And in an hospital there could be a canteen with their running, and there could be X, Y, and Z, and then there is a doctor का sharing fee. There is so much which is different than in hotel. And hotel may be where you are staying in a room is different and a restaurant is different. And a quick service restaurant is different like a Maggi or X or Y or Pasta Coffee. So I think that industry knowledge, and all of a sudden tomorrow someone says bank audit kar lo, am I an expert in bank? Do I know the RBI regulation? Do I know what is an operational risk, what is a treasury risk, what is X, Y or Z? What are the frameworks which are applicable there? So that is where industry knowledge, when you talk about skill and competency, industry knowledge, then knowledge of the whole process of procurement or revenue or sales or whatever end-to-end is important. See, any organization, if you are in-house HIA or CAE, they will tell you that you got 4 people team, 2 people team. Now with those 2 people or 4 people, which area you audit first? What is high risk? And if a client comes to you and says, "Okay, boss, I want to appoint your firm as an internal auditor," तो पूरा organization का तो audit नहीं कर पाओगे आप. So which process to pick up in the first year? So that is what it says. Identify, and there is a standard on that. How to identify? We'll come to that quickly. And then when you are looking at the process, उसमें risk क्या है? System and process focus again. टेक्नोलॉजी नॉलेज इज इंपॉर्टेंट. टैली है तो अलग है, एसएपी है तो अलग कंट्रोल्स है, अलग टेबल्स है, अलग रिपोर्ट्स है, ऑरेकल है तो अलग है, माइक्रोसॉफ्ट है तो अलग है. So we need to understand that. We'll come to the standard. I'll talk about that also. The standard, the principle also says no. Normally the internal auditor should not participate in decision making. It's like if I'm going to go and do the procurement process audit, then I should not be part of the purchase committee. Sometimes audit heads go and sit on the purchase committee. If I'm going to look at the scrap process this year, then I should not be sitting into the scrap process and evaluating कि कौन से vendor को देना है, किसको नहीं देना है, tender है क्या नहीं, ये लिया है क्या नहीं, that way. Okay. sensitivity to multiple stakeholders we discussed, relevant है उसी को report देना है, need to know basis, don't go and discuss with anyone. And quality and continuous improvement, again there is a standard. जैसे यहाँ पे peer review है, वैसे ही there is a SIA which says कि if it is a large firm, then एक partner का जो internal audit report से there should be someone else who will pick up and do it. There are multiple officers in Bangalore will pick up audits from Bombay and Delhi and review, and that way. And it also says that like if you are a CA firm who are practicing, then one thing, there are two groups of standards. One is this SIA which are issued by ICI, and one is the global standard which is issued by the Institute of Internal Auditors Inc. एक में 3 साल, एक में 5 साल, external quality assessment of internal audit function is required to be done. And that is also one area of practice which you can pick up if you want to. आप external standards को अच्छे से read कर लो, समझ लो, you know everything. Then you can go to organization, a huge or large organizations, appoint CA firms to come and do quality assurance of internal audit function, QAIP as they call, and issue a report. And the fees for QAIP can be anything from 8 lakh rupees to 15 lakh rupees, depending on the size of the organization. And Middle East or Europe, US, everyone gets it done. And if you really want to practice in internal audit, then you should also consider doing certified internal auditor course from IIA USA. The Institute of Internal Auditors there, and if you do that, then you can also empanel yourself on the panel. So from there also the QIP opportunities can come to you. Okay. You can make some notes, whatever you want, but the slide decks also will be circulating. So let me come to the standards. 100 is key concept. इसमें risk क्या है, control क्या है, governance क्या है, compliance with policies, etc. Then 200 is like before you do the internal audit, how do you prepare a risk with IA plan, what team, what qualification, etc., etc. If you appoint a third party for doing the work for you, then conduct of audit के अंदर from sampling to report writing to planning, all of those gets covered. And then there are two specialized areas. So 19 standards right now issued by ICAI. 16 more were in the draft. ICAI issued further 16 standards. Public domain में थे comment के लिए. हमने पढ़ा नहीं पढ़ा, comment दिया नहीं दिया मालूम नहीं. But those 16 अभी तक have not been notified. And I also have given my comments. So I think they will have to revisit, and ICAI is again forming a team to revisit those standards.
Because CA, and I understand anybody engineer can also issue the internal report. But if CA is the internal report, because the SIA mandatory for it.
Not yet, no. SIAs are not mandatory for anyone right now. Okay. And one more thing. So like see today, not necessary that internal audit report will be issued by a CA firm only, right? There are private limited companies also and who are internal auditors and who issue internal audit report. And if you are not issuing as a CA or as a firm नहीं है, आप private limited company में issue कर रहे हो, तो फिर UDIT का भी कोई requirement है ही नहीं. So people issue reports without UDIT also in internal audit. So that is not a requirement as such, okay? And that is safer also. Okay, let us now quickly go ahead. So again, when you issue a statutory audit report for a private or public limited company, what is the nature of assurance that you give? True and fair view. And when you issue a tax audit report, what is the nature of assurance? In a way, true and correct, because आप देखते हो कि TDS बराबर है नहीं, PF बराबर है नहीं, everything. And if there is a delay, single delay, you need to report. When you issue an internal audit report, what is the nature of assurance?
Controls are effective.
Controls are effective, okay? And what else? What is the overall assurance? Absolute, perfect, कोई टेंशन नहीं है, मैंने ऑडिट कर दिया तो no. Okay, then what?
Reasonable assurance.
Reasonable assurance. Do you agree with them? Internal audit किया, लेकिन मैं कुछ नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि इसमें गड़बड़ है या नहीं. हाँ? लेकिन अभी गारंटी भी नहीं दे सकते. See today, if you look at the WhatsApp factory, then what happens is कुछ भी हुआ तो पहला इंटरनल ऑडिटर जेल में रहा, वो क्या कर रहा था, फिर दूसरा स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिटर वो क्या कर रहा था. So they expect you to be all knowing. There are 1,000 employees, 5,000, 20,000 employees who are working there day in day out, And I, doing 4 audits in a year, am expected that I give them a thorough, clear certificate that character आपका एकदम clean है. How can that happen? I reviewed a procurement process and I issued a report. But does it mean that I have checked each and every PO to PR to bill and ensure that there is no purchase at high value, there is no purchase from related party, and there is no fraud at all? Can I give that assurance? If I give that assurance, then it is absolute. So there was no standard. Now ICA has come up with the standard 110 nature of assurance, and it says you can give only a reasonable assurance. Okay, when you are giving an internal report, you can give a reasonable assurance. दोस्त हेलो थोड़ा हेल्प करना होगा So, Jai asked about issuing a report. There is 370 which says issuing a report. Okay, SIA. And now there is a new 380 which is coming, which is saying issuing a assurance report. Okay, reporting result 370 है. नए वाले में assurance report है. दोनों में क्या फर्क है मालूम नहीं है. So I have also written to ICI and we have to look at that. But when you look at the standard nature of assurance, it says that generally when you are doing an audit, you are giving a reasonable assurance and you can give absolute assurance only in a certain case. Okay, that is when it says there should be a specific component of assurance. So in cases where there are 3 parties, in cases where there is a subject matter is predefined and the outcome is conclusive, and a written assurance report is issued. That is when you can give an absolute assurance. Let me give you an example. PLI scheme, you must be knowing. A company is taking money under PLI scheme for setting up a factory. And say 1,000 crore was sanctioned. And sir is CFO of the company. He appoints me as an internal auditor. Now, that the regulator or government agency releases 100 crores to the company spends on the factory. Then the second tranche of 50 crores was to be released. The regulator says, पहला एक internal auditor का report submit करो कि जो 100 करोड़ दिया है ये आपने वही purpose के लिए use किया है, factory बनाने के लिए, ना कि तुमने खुद के लिए बंगला बनाया या गाड़ी ले ली है, right? So he appoints me. So that time, I am the auditor, he is the auditee. But the user of assurance report is the PLI agency. 3 party. Second, each and every paisa of that 100 crore is used for the purpose for which defined criteria. What is the subject matter? Is it defined? Yes. And then I will do 100% check of all the PO, PR, invoice, quotation, ensure that that is used for that purpose, and then give a written report. In that case, you can give an absolute assurance. Assuming your client tells you कि procurement के लिए मेरे पास एक vendor master है और vendor master में duplicate vendor तो नहीं है, एक ही vendor का 2-3 बार account तो नहीं खुला है, तो vendor master पूरा complete 100% check करके दो, मेरे को clean करना है. Then in that case, a small part of a large process if you are doing thoroughly, then you will be able to issue an absolute assurance. And to my mind, then it becomes a agreed upon procedure assignment. It is not a process audit under internal audit. Okay. Otherwise, any process audit under internal audit, you give a reasonable assurance. Let me go ahead. Internal controls. Controls can be manual or automated. Controls can be preventive or detective. And there is so much more which is written. Companies Act, there is a lot of requirement. The CEO and CFO of the company has to give an assurance under the, I'm sure many of you must be doing audit of public companies. Internal control over financial reporting का report कैसे issue किया है? Yes, no? Okay, many organizations also have to do it, and say, and if you are auditor, you also have to do it. So the whole internal control process. Now, when you talk about controls, systems and procedures, financial control, reporting control, etc. I will cover these two slides and then come to one example ताकि वो अच्छे से समझ में आए. See, generally, when you talk about India, we are saying internal control over financial reporting, which means only those areas which will impact the financial statement. There are other operating controls also, which we don't cover. But if you cover that, then it becomes internal financial control. If you add entity level control, then it becomes internal control environment in the organization. Okay. And when you talk about control, it can be everything. And I'll come to the example and we'll talk about that. Let me also talk about risk. Risk are those areas which will not help the organization achieving the objective, according to me. Slides are there. There is a lot of requirement of risk also. Let me now come to you. Procure to pay process. Procure to pay में risk क्या है? Simple procurement कोई भी company में जो procurement होता है उसका risk क्या है? Anyone, quickly.
3-way match नहीं हो रहा है.
3-way match नहीं हो रहा है. Is that a risk? So what? 3-way match नहीं हो रहा है, so what?
Excess payment to the vendors, duplicate invoice booking.
Excess payment to vendor is a risk. 100 रुपए का बिल था, 110 पेमेंट हो गया. 100 रुपए का बिल था, 2 बार पेमेंट हो गया, डुप्लीकेट पेमेंट. Excess payment to vendor is a risk. Very good. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. हाँ? Kickbacks. तो मतलब bribe. ले आप मुझे दो. Yes. हाँ. So you are saying कि कोई वेंडर मेरी पहचान वाला है जिससे मैंने 100 रुपए का चीज 110 या 120 में ले लिया और उसने मेरे को 10 रुपए कमीशन दिया. Which purchase at high value as compared to the market rate. That is the risk. Paying more is the risk. Paying double or extra is the risk. Anything else?
Not obtaining comparable quotation.
So what? What is the risk?
Is paying back.
Perfect. इन कोटेशन क्यों बोलते हैं? ताकि मालूम पड़े कि मार्केट रेट क्या है इसका. अगर इसका मार्केट रेट 100 रुपये है तो आपने 200 में तो नहीं ले लिया. इसके लिए 3 कंट्रोल, 3 कोटेशन. और 3 कोटेशन इज व्हाट? अ कंट्रोल. Are you with me? So that you ensure that you get the best rate and the best vendor. Okay. So 3 quotation is a control. Risk is so that you don't pay extra. Very good. Thank you.
See, the biggest risk is that the entire purchase is, fake. So the material is not received, only invoice has been booked and the GI has been prepared. That's the biggest risk.
Very good. So material is not received physically. GRN बन गया, invoice आ गया, payment हो गया. ये risk है. Control क्या है? इसके लिए control क्या है? अपन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में क्या देखते हैं या हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं क्लाइंट को क्या होना चाहिए प्रोसेस में?
Physical verification of the inventory.
फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन ऑफ इन्वेंटरी जब भी आता है तभी फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन में सॉरी
Let the material required, whether material is used and what is the outcome of use of that material.
Okay, so that also is one control in a way. Sorry, I'm coming to you in a minute. Yes, you said
Consumption analysis.
consumption analysis. Sir also mentioned. You also mentioned. Very good. You were saying about something else. A receipt of material. Sorry.
So the segregation of duties.
Segregation of duty के बारे में थोड़ा ज्यादा बोलिए हमको नहीं मालूम. थोड़ा बताइए और डिटेल में.
The person who places the purchase order should not be the user, should not be the receiver, and should not have the control over it.
Very good.
He should not be.
मतलब जो फैक्ट्री में शॉप फ्लोर में जो बंदा बोलता है कि मेरे को इतना मटेरियल चाहिए वो अलग है. फिर प्रोक्योरमेंट टीम अलग है जो पीओ रेस करता है वेंडर के ऊपर. वो टीम वो वेंडर आइडेंटिफाई भी करता है. मटेरियल जब भी आता है तभी वो पीओ वाले के पास नहीं आना चाहिए. मटेरियल डायरेक्टली फैक्ट्री में जाएगा, उधर कोई जीआरएन बनाएगा. GRN बनाएगा वो बंदा पेमेंट नहीं देना चाहिए। अगर मैं ही, if I am only issuing PO, I am receiving material and I am processing invoice, then the risk is there कि without getting material I make payment. If it is divided, that is what is segregation of duty. Okay, excellent, thank you. And what else?
Also collision happening between all three people.
Collision can also happen, but वो next level हो जाएगा, ठीक है, उसको भी फाइंड आउट करेंगे। जैसे इन्होंने बोला, सर ने बोला कि अगर मटेरियल नहीं आया है तो फिर उसका इन्वेंटरी रिकॉर्ड होएगा, यूटिलाइजेशन नहीं है तो वो चैलेंजेस आएंगे कोलिशन में भी। ओके, सो वी से no material received but payment made. Then we said duplicate payment. Then we said excess payment, purchase at high value, etc., etc. These are various risks. Sorry, that is what I was asking. Very good. So जब भी receipt होता है, तभी you do the quality check. तो quality check ensures कि substandard material नहीं आए, ठीक है? And quality check also ensures कि एक्स्ट्रा डंपिंग नहीं हो। मेरे पास 1000 चाहिए था तो वो तीनों जगह पे कवर हो जाता, पीओ इश्यू करते समय भी, देन उसके बाद जब भी रिसिप्टिंग होता है तभी भी चेक होता है, और जीआर बनते समय भी कि एक्सेस नहीं हो। लेकिन क्वालिटी चेक कभी कवर होता है जब भी क्वालिटी चेक करते हैं तभी। वेरी गुड। नाउ बट वेयर डज द प्रोक्योरमेंट प्रोसेस स्टार्ट? क्योंकि प्रोक्योरमेंट प्रोसेस किधर से चालू होता है, किधर खत्म होता है?
मटेरियल रिक्वायरमेंट से स्टार्ट होता है, पेमेंट देने से वेंडर को।
सो सेल्स बजट, उसके अगेंस्ट में प्रोडक्शन बजट, देन देयर इज अ परचेज बजट, देन परचेज के टाइम पे देन द फैक्ट्री शॉप फ्लोर विल से आई वांट टू परचेज। व्हेन ही वांट्स टू परचेज ही हैज टू लुक एट द रीऑर्डर लेवल और द what do you say, the economic order quantity. Then the procurement team should already identify multiple vendors, and procurement team will raise the PO on the best vendor at the best price, the best quality after doing background check. And then material will come. When the material comes, someone will do the quality check and someone will prepare the GRN. Invoice, when the vendor sends the invoice, vendor should send the invoice to whom? To the procurement, to the warehouse, to the purchase, to the finance, to whom?
फाइनेंस।
फाइनेंस। फैक्ट्री में नहीं आना चाहिए ना इनवॉइस, जिसके पास आएगा। तो आइदर चलान, लेकिन अभी चलान नहीं है, इनवॉइस है, तो इनवॉइस आएगा। He got no role to play in this system. Why? Because see, in today's, if you look at the ERP environment, SAP, Oracle, Microsoft में अगर काम किया है और टैली में भी वो कंट्रोल्स अगर बिठाया है, तो generally the most important control is when the material comes, goods received note, बनते समय PO नंबर डालना जरूरी है। अगर PO 1000 क्वांटिटी का है तो GRN अगर आप 1000 के ऊपर 1001 का बनाने जाओगे तो सिस्टम will not allow you to make. That is the control, right? So that control is important. Second, in large organization there is a three-way match. What is the three-way match? What was the quantity in PO? Does it match with the GRN quantity and quality check quantity? What was the rate mentioned in the PO? Does it match with the invoices? Are there any other terms? Does it match? And then it goes and does the payment automatically. So the invoice processing happens through the system. These are all controls. Okay. Now this is an automated control. So जैसे जैसे बात कर रहे थे, कुछ मैनुअल कंट्रोल है, कोई बंदा बैठ के फिजिकली चेक कर रहा है क्वालिटी, दैट इज अ फिजिकल कंट्रोल, मैनुअल कंट्रोल, राइट? अगर GRN quantity should not exceed PO quantity, that is the automated control. Okay. Again, what is preventive, what is detective? That can also come up. Sorry.
Open-ended POs, we come across with open-ended POs, where the similar quantity would be open-ended, where every time they cannot place the order, and price is going to open-ended. In that case, how are we going to have this control what we are discussing about?
So see, generally, these are type of contracts, and even in real estate construction contract, construction में a builder Yoda today does not build himself. They give a contract to a contractor, and then they say like इतना स्क्वायर फीट बनने वाला है, इतना स्लैब है, इतना ये है. Sometimes they give only RCC and sometimes they give RCC with brickwork and all the internal finish also. There is a rate. कि per square feet, इतना square feet, इतना rate, finish. They say कि like you will use cement at so and so rate. और ये open ended contract में भी अगर contract लंबा है, because these are things which you will buy and buy. So what you do is maybe sometimes some organization do once in 6 months, some organization do once in a year. But at least once in a year you should tell them कि कभी 3 quotation मंगाओ, compare करो, वापस देख लोगे वो vendor सही है, नहीं तो फिर नया vendor लाना है तो अंतर लेके आओ. Of course उसके पहला अगर quality का problem है, blacklisting है, कोई issue है कि vendor time पे supply नहीं कर रहा तो change हो ही जाएगा. अगर वैसा कुछ नहीं हुआ तो साल में एक बार. Now during the year I am estimating that in this month I am going to need maybe 10 tons of cement. So I give them a contract at 200 rupees per bag. Okay. But I said if there is an increase, then they will write to me in a certain way and I'll approve. Someone will approve and then only I'll give the additional rate, otherwise I'll not give. And if there is a 10% variation, then he has to bear. Whatever is written in the contract, that becomes very, very important. Now, I said that this open-ended contract is for 10 tons करते हुए 100 tons. When it achieves 100 tons, then we reevaluate. Whatever those type of things should be there in the contract. That will be acting as a control. Like when does the price escalation happen? When do you give increased price? If there is a price reduction in cement, will he pass on the benefit to you or not? ये सब चीज बहुत clearly लिखना पड़ेगा, नहीं तो loss नहीं.
We normally set budgets. We normally set budgets in the system itself. If it is crossing, it pops up. That's it.
Quantity तो उसमें system में आप डाल ही सकते हो. Very good. So, friends, now we go ahead to the next one in a way. But again, see, for any organization other than a service organization, IT, ITS company hai, so then like manpower cost will be too big. But manufacturing, pharma, healthcare, and everywhere the procurement, purchase cost will be too high. And generally procure to pay will be a high risk process. And procurement भी है जिधर गड़बड़ हो सकता है. Before I close this topic and go ahead, in today's environment, how many of you use data analytics? कोई भी form का. What do you use?
I use 9 software.
9. Very good. I'm coming to you. Keep the mic in your hand. Anyone else? Yes, I'm coming to you also. So in a normal procure to pay, आप भले टैक्स ऑडिट कर रहे हो, देखो, right now there is a SA1 sampling, right? And then there is an SA1 analytic procedure also. And then there is an SA1 working paper and documentation. And then there is an SA1 evidences. टैक्स ऑडिट के लिए भी एप्लीकेबल एसेस ऐसा सब लोग मानते हैं नहीं. Standard on audit are applicable for tax audits also, right? So which means all of this is required to be done. Let me, unrelated question, unfortunately, but let me ask you, okay, how do you select samples? Tax audit के लिए, company audit के लिए, private public limited company के लिए sample कैसे select करते हैं अपनी ऑफिस में हम लोग हिंदी में थोड़ा क्योंकि
Outliers or population में कोई, that is one of the criteria.
outliers समझाना, थोड़ा और समझाना. How do you identify the outlier?
तो फॉर एग्जांपल मेरे हर महीने 10-10 क्वांटिटी के पीओ बन रहे हैं, लेकिन सडनली कोई एक पर्टिकुलर मंथ में 10 की जगह पे 60 क्वांटिटी हो गई.
Spike, variation,
हो गया, बहुत कम हो गया.
high quantity, these are abnormal. But is it a statistical sample or random sample?
Random sample.
Random judgmental sample. Okay. ICISA also talks about statistical sample. Thank you. Very good answer. Anyone else? How do you select sample? Procure to pay. आप कितने sample select करते हो? Yes, sir. What?
Monthly unit sample, MS.
Okay. So high value.
Not necessarily high value, completely statistical determined. It will also select samples which are above a particular neutrality threshold.
Very good. And so overall, There may be an audit case where the turnover is 5 crores. There can be an audit case where the turnover is 50 crores and there can be 500 crores. सब में same sample size है. If sample size increase होता है, change होता है, कुछ होता है, purchase में, sale में change होता है. I'm coming to you now. Yes, please.
Before going for sampling, we first of all do a ABC analysis, which is the top line purchase, and then our sampling depends upon it. The high value analyze perfectly for us.
So high value you will pick up. That is what someone else also said. But then again, when you go to the sample, really statistical sample, how many and how?
It will depend upon the value of transaction and the anomaly that we observe. If the similar sample keeps on repeating, then we have a judgment to split all together particular samples of that population.
Excellent. Sure. Very good. Yes. Last and then we will come, but we will come to the analytic procedure and then only summarize. Sorry.
Depends on the frequency of control. Whether you can control is
Very good.
many times a day, weekly, quarterly.
Excellent. Congratulations. Monthly अगर frequency है तो कितना sample?
I think it's 6.
If it is a monthly frequency, minimum 2, maximum 3. Bank reconciliation 12 महीने का बैंक रिक्वेस्ट, minimum 2 महीना, maximum 3 महीना. उससे ज्यादा करने की जरूरत नहीं है. करोगे तो अच्छा है. अगर 50 बैंक है तो 50 बैंक में तो then you can decide can pick up 7 bank, 5 bank, 10 bank. Which 5 you, that is you. But when you select a bank, then minimum 2 months or maximum 3 months, monthly. Then if it is a yearly frequency,
Yearly one.
1. If it is a daily recurring control,
25.
thank you. If it is daily recurring control, then minimum 25, maximum 40. Which means कि अगर procurement का process कर रहे हैं end to end, तो आपको कम से कम 25 सैंपल तो लेना ही लेना है. ठीक है, 25 से ज्यादा लोगे तो अच्छा है. अपनी अपनी फॉर्म में अपने पास एक सैम्पलिंग मेथोडोलॉजी होनी चाहिए कि 5 करोड़ तक का टर्नओवर तो विल सेलेक्ट 50, 5 से लेके 50 करोड़ तो विल सेलेक्ट 100 और 50 करोड़ के ऊपर तो विल सेलेक्ट 150 or 200 samples. Now when I select 100 sample, I can always say that 50 will be statistical, 50 will be judgmental. Okay. Now when he says frequency of control minimum 25, that is to be statistical, which means I need to look at the purchase register and generally I pick up PO, purchase order. The purchase order issued by the organization at 20,103, assuming round figure 20,000. और मेरे को sample लेना है 50, तो 20,000 divided by 50, my end number will be 400. My first random number is assuming 3. Then the second will be 3, 403, 803, 1203, 1603, 2003. Okay, this PO number I will select and I will document, which means what? मेरी फाइल में जब भी परचेज वाउचिंग का फ्लैप लगता है उसमें पहला पेपर होना चाहिए एबी से लिमिटेड ऑडिट फॉर द ईयर एंडेड 31st March 2025, total purchase order issued during the year 20,000, sample selected 100, 50 statistical, 50 judgmental, and when I divide 20,000 by 50, I picked up 3 as a random number and hence PO number 3, 403, 803, 1203 has been selected by me for verification. This is one page. Now the second page, like someone said, outlier, high value, etc. So those are judgmental or random sample which I select. High value, A category, more purchase from one vendor. All of these are judgmental which I select. And why did I select? I need to document that in my working paper. Now once this is done, you need to evidence. See problem क्या होता है जब भी disciplinary committee में केस जाता है तो बहुत काम किया सर, ग्रीन टिक मारा पूरा फाइल पे, लेकिन क्या किया, कौन सा सैंपल लिया, कैसे लिया, वो बताने के लिए कुछ भी नहीं. ये वर्किंग पेपर becomes very very important. Then the second thing is now once you selected the sample, what did you check? I checked the whole process. So for this PO, what was the purchase requisition number, date, quantity? Then PO number, date, quantity, and vendor. Then how did you select the vendor? So 3 quotation, comparative statement, purchase committee. Tick. Then you go to the quality check, GRN, and then you go to the invoice and 3-way matching. Then you also go and see कि बैंक बुक में पेमेंट गया है नहीं. ऐसा तो नहीं खाली चेक बना दिया और वेंडर अकाउंट में तो बैंक एंट्री मार दी, लेकिन चेक ड्रॉअर में पड़ा है. तो वो देखना है कि बैंक स्टेटमेंट में क्लियर हुआ है कि नहीं. And go into the inventory register and see. So when you want to see the whole compliance, the columns can be 10, 20, 30, 40. Then only you ensure the whole process is checked और किधर भी process में gap नहीं है और किधर कोई गड़बड़ नहीं हो. This is the asset. और ये पूरा sample selection और ये जो check आपने किया, this is your documentation or working paper. And then if you are writing an observation, in certain case we noted from a particular vendor purchase has been made, but that material was available at a lower price in the market, and when the company is paid extra, then you need to have the market quotation, etc., as your evidence for your observation. In internal audit also, और अगर statutory audit में अगर आपको लगता है कि 10 करोड़ में से 9 करोड़ एक ही वेंडर के पास है और हाई वैल्यू में लिया और गड़बड़ है, then you decide कि whether it is a modified opinion or unmodified opinion. And whether you want to give an adverse opinion, saying that this is against the company and whatever net profit has gone up or XYZ. And on the statutory audit, there is a requirement of fraud reporting if it goes above 1 crore. If this you feel is a fraud systematic, every time the same vendor at a much higher price, then you need to fill up the ADT 1, ADT 2 and report to the central government कि fraud हो रहा है. When you are statutory audit, not when you are an internal auditor. Let me complete the procurement process and then go to the other standards quickly. Sir, now an analytic procedure. क्या-क्या analytics कर सकते हैं आज के जमाने में procurement के ऊपर? Easy process है, इसके लिए पूछ रहा हूँ. जल्दी थोड़ा. अभी time late हो रहा है. Anything. Let me mic. I'm going to.
PR to PO mapping, PO to
You check.
so whatever the PO quantity is there is not exceeding the PR quantity. Whatever is the GRN is not exceeding PO plus tolerance quantity. Whatever the material is received, the quality check is done for all the required GRN quantity. Whatever invoices are booked, so its quantity is up to the PO quantity and rate is as per the PO rate and quantity is as per the GRN. No duplicate invoicing.
इनका बोलना ये है कि 500 PO हो या 5000 हो, पूरा डंप डाउनलोड करो टैली से या गूगल से भी, परचेज रिक्वेजिशन का रेट और परचेज ऑर्डर का रेट को कंपेयर करो. रिक्वेजिशन पहला होना चाहिए, ऑर्डर पहला होना चाहिए. रिक्वेजिशन can the order quantity exceed the requisition quantity? Will you make GRN PO quantity PO date first or GRN date first? PO then GRN. Can the GRN quantity exceed the PO quantity? No. All of these can be checked at bulk using Excel, using SQL. If you can do SQL coding, nothing like it. लिख लो. SQL सीखना जरूरी है लाइफ में. SQL W is very important now. Presentation के लिए W. SQL, Python, coding is very important. अगर करना है तो देखो idea tool is available. You can buy idea. 60,000 rupees one-time fees, 20,000 rupees yearly renewal fees. ICI member के लिए with firm registration number. ICI signed a contract with Casper in Canada, which is IDEA का parent. India में IDEA का Sama audit tool है. We say we are only somewhere in Andheri, DG Single and Manish Pipalia. There's an IDEA tool in India. So you can buy the IDEA tool and you can use it for multiple the same videos भी available है. Structure to pay concept query कैसे run करना है. You can change the queries also yourself. Sorry, over to you.
Missing series, PO number, GRN number.
Missing numbers, very good. अच्छा, GSTN के लिए आप क्या करते हो? हर वेंडर ने जिसने इनवॉइस दिया है तो उसका GSTN मिल रहा है कि नहीं क्लाइंट को, उसके लिए क्या चेक करते हो आप लोग? उसको करते होंगे ना ऑनलाइन? नहीं. 2A 3B. So see now what is available. Assuming, let me ask you one other thing which we cover in the other standard. Which of your client would like that their employee is running a parallel business? चाहे ना कोई नहीं. अगर एम्प्लॉइज जो है कंपनी में 20,000 एम्प्लॉई है वो खुद का बिजनेस चला रहे कि नहीं, कैसे मालूम पड़ेगा आपको? Excellent, to the point. I tell the company, give me all the PAN number of your employees. पूरा पैन नंबर लेता हूँ, जीएसटी के डेटाबेस से मैप करता हूँ और बताता हूँ कि कौन से एम्प्लॉय के पास जीएसटी नंबर है, उसका नेचर ऑफ बिजनेस क्या, उसका टर्नओवर क्या मिल जाता है. जीएसटीएन का डेटा एक्सेस अवेलेबल है. कोई वेंडर ने बाई करके रखा है, एज अ सीएफओ यू नीड ओनली सब्सक्राइब and then scale you write a formula, SQL query, which will go and compare. Similarly, if someone employee does in the family relatives name, तो क्या होता है हर कंपनी मेडिकल इंश्योरेंस लेता है मेडिकल इंश्योरेंस के लिए उनकी वाइफ और बच्चे लोग का नंबर डिपेंडेंस का पैन नंबर है so I can pick that PAN number and also check with GST. Okay, either employee director somewhere, I take the PAN, check it with the DIN database. तो मालूम पड़ जाए डायरेक्टर है क्या DIN मिल गया तो कंपनी का सिम क्या बनता है सिम मिल गया तो वो सिम में दूसरा डायरेक्टर कौन है वो DIN मिल गया तो उसमें पैन निकालता हूँ GST से मैप करता हूँ वेंडर मास्टर में देखता हूँ क्या वो जो कंपनी में मैं डायरेक्टर हूँ उधर का कोई दूसरा डायरेक्टर कंपनी चला गया मेरे ही कंपनी को सप्लाई तो नहीं कर ये इस तरीके से यू विल बी एबल टू कैच होल्ड ऑफ misappropriation, frauds, wrongdoing, and when you find out such thing, the client will be very happy. That is what the client is expecting by value addition to them. खाली ग्रीन टिक मार के रिपोर्ट देंगे उससे अभी होएगा नहीं अगले साल चेंज हो जाएगा इंटरनल में some other firm will be appointed. Are you with me? What also we do is to take all, like you can tell them to build the control inside. Before the payment is processed, all the GST number will be checked with the GST database to see कि vendor का GST active है क्या. अगर एक्टिव ही नहीं है तो GST पे नहीं करेगा तो इनपुट क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा क्लाइंट को. So tell him not to pay the GST, pay only the net amount. So you can go on and keep on doing lots of these type of things. Let me then go ahead. Sorry, थोड़ा टाइम इसमें ज़्यादा लिया है, but let me go ahead. So I think risk is okay, controls are okay. Governance. Again, a very good area to practice. ठीक है? There are so many startups in India. जो स्टार्टअप वाले बंदे IIM, IIT करके आ जाते हैं बिजनेस वालों में वड़ा बना के ऑनलाइन बेचना है कॉस्टा कॉफी बेचना है कॉफी की दुकान चालू करनी है कुछ भी नया धंधा करते हैं लेकिन इनको कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कैसे बनाना है वेंडर एग्रीमेंट्स कैसे बनाने हैं कंपनी में पॉलिसी प्रोसीजर क्या होना चाहिए ठीक है अथॉरिटी मैट्रिक्स क्या होता है एंड एज दे बिकम बिग the risk control matrix, the enterprise risk management, because anyone goes for listing on SME stock exchange or main board, anyone, even a venture capital fund, before putting in money will say, tally है नहीं, जो हो या SAP या Oracle को ERP है, written policy procedure है, कोई authority matrix है, is there a method in madness? Do you have a risk committee? Do you have a remuneration committee? Do you have a sexual harassment committee? There is a POSH Act in India. If something happens, where will the women go and complain to whom? So there has to be a POSH committee, and there has to be a woman sitting on that. ये सब committees कौन बनाएगा? ये committees की mandates कौन बनाएंगे? Policy क्या होनी चाहिए? Process क्या होना चाहिए? कौन बनाएगा? Everything will be done by chartered accountants like you and me, yours faithfully. रोज यही करता हूँ मैं. और खाली लिस्टेड कंपनी नहीं so many companies want these services so governance can be statements policies committees goal mission statement whistleblowing tool एक whistle sanitary करके प्रोडक्ट है ये प्रोडक्ट कोई डीपी टेक करके कंपनी है उसका है डीपी टेक ने प्रोडक्ट बना के क्लाउड पे डाल दिया है आप अपने क्लाइंट को बोलो कि आपकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में अगर कोई फाइनेंशियल मिसअप्रोप्रिएशन हो रहा है चोरी हो रही है गड़बड़ हो रही है कोई किसी को धमका रहा है डरा रहा है तो कंप्लेंट किधर करेंगे तो आप ये प्रोडक्ट ले लो 50,000 रुपया महीना 12 महीने का 6 लाख कंपनी will pay to the vendor directly if you are working with the vendor as a partner he will pay you some 20-30% commission then you go and implement. Any employee wants to write the mail anonymous, it will have his mail ID. Anyone wants to call the call will go on to his call desk. You do training, screen savers, उसका अलग पैसा लो. फिर जो फ्रॉड्स आएंगे वो फ्रॉड इन्वेस्टिगेशन का अलग पैसा लो. विनीत भाई इतना फ्रॉड इन्वेस्टिगेशन बाहर देता है. एक फ्रॉड इन्वेस्टिगेशन का कितना फीस देते हैं आप? 5-10 लाख 15 लाख तो कंपनी देता है. वो फ्रॉड इन्वेस्टिगेशन एंड टू एंड करना है. हार्ड ड्राइव में खाली डेटा एक्सट्रैक्ट करने का उसके लिए पैसा मिलता है. तो मनी इज देयर. Will we practice in that area? Are we thinking? That is a question we need to ask. So everything has got an opportunity here. The last one is compliance to laws and regulation in the 100 series. So whenever you are doing an audit, see, when I am doing a procurement audit, I need to ensure that input rate बरोबर लिया है क्या नहीं. I need to ensure that TDS बरोबर काटा है क्या नहीं, 194C, J, etc. अगर मैं पेरोल का ऑडिट कर रहा हूं तो PF, PSIC ग्रेच्युटी मेरे को देखना पड़ेगा. So the ICI says that whichever process you are doing, that time you should ensure that whatever regulations are applicable, you cover that and you also give an assurance on that. So with that, I complete the 100 series. I know I am little behind, लेकिन थोड़ा speed पकड़ना पड़ेगा मेरे को भी, ठीक है? तो 100 series में 110 was nature of assurance, 120 was control, 130 was risk, 140 was governance, and 150 is complying with laws and regulations. ठीक है? अभी तक ठीक है? कुछ अंदर जा रहा है कि ऊपर से जा रहा है? जा रहा है, ठीक है? बहुत फास्ट तो नहीं हो? ठीक है, नहीं है, नहीं समझ ही नहीं पड़ रहा है कुछ. ओके, थोड़ा स्पीड बढ़ाए, टाइम कम है इसके लिए. तो सीट की पेटी बांध लो, फ्रॉम कार टू एरोप्लेन थोड़ा पास जाएंगे, स्टेटस क्विकली कवर करेंगे, जो प्रॉपरली करना है उसको प्रॉपरली करेंगे. सो if you are an in-house internal auditor, chief audit executive, head of internal audit, this standard is applicable to you. And if you are running an internal audit team function in a firm, then this is applicable to you. So, overall plan बनाना है, methodology होनी चाहिए कि ओपनिंग मेमो होएगा कि नहीं हर ऑडिट के लिए, ऑडिट के बाद सर्वे होएगा कि नहीं, ड्राफ्ट रिपोर्ट क्या स्टेज पे बनेगा, मीटिंग में डिस्कशन में जाता है तो उसका मिनट्स बनेगा क्या नहीं. अगर मैं डेटा मानता हूं, मेरा टीम क्या करता है, सर मी द परचेज रजिस्टर, क्लाइंट भी स्मार्ट है और 4 कॉलम निकालता है, इनवॉइस डेट अमाउंट और दे दे. फिर बोलता नहीं आई वांटेड पीआर, उतना मांगा नहीं. तो डेटा मानते समय क्या किए, परचेज रिक्विजिशन, परचेज ऑर्डर, जीआर क्या चाहिए. Data request has to be clear, that's format. So from data request to checklist to scope of work, everything has to be standardized. How will you select the sample, how many, how will you do analytics, what, and then how will you issue the report, is there a standard format? A report के अंदर will you do an observation rating? High क्या है, medium क्या है, low क्या है, overall procurement अच्छा है कि बुरा है ये कंपनी में, overall report rating. तो वो सब के लिए आपका खुद का एक मैन्युअल गाइडेंस कुछ होना चाहिए, इंटरनली इन योर फॉर्म और इन योर कंपनी. ये इसके लिए इतना ही इनफ है. लेट मी गो टू द नेक्स्ट वन. इन अ लार्ज कंपनी, रिलायंस इंडस्ट्रीज लिमिटेड, आई एम द ऑडिट हेड. व्हिच ऑडिट शुड आई गो इन दिस ईयर? एनी आइडिया? एक मिनट के लिए आप ये सोचोगे, आप रिलायंस के इंटरनल टीम में ऑडिट हेड हो, क्या क्या ऑडिट करना चाहिए? रिलायंस इंडस्ट्री प्रोक्योरमेंट इंपॉर्टेंट है, रिलायंस इंडस्ट्री का प्रोक्योरमेंट इंपॉर्टेंट है, हाँ या नहीं? ओके. कंप्लायंसेस टू रेगुलेशंस इंपॉर्टेंट है, रेवेन्यू इंपॉर्टेंट है, फिक्स असेट इंपॉर्टेंट है, सब कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट. सो व्हाट? And the second question, a client approaches you, छोटा client, हाँ बजट नहीं है, 50 करोड़ का टर्नओवर, बोलता है मैडम I want to open your internal audit. So what will you do? How many audits? चलो रिटेल स्टोर है, एक एग्जांपल दे रहे हैं सबके लिए, खाली इनके लिए क्वेश्चन नहीं है, थोड़ा सा ध्यान दीजिए, 2 मिनट अटेंशन विद मी, then we conclude this standard. A client of mine is based in Delhi. They do procurement, ये लोग बेचते हैं सब यूनिक मटेरियल, ये वो फ्लावर वाज, ये वो डेकोरेटिव आइटम, ये परचेस करते हैं, क्ले का मटेरियल यूपी से, कुछ तमिलनाडु से, कुछ उड़ीसा से, अक्रॉस इंडिया से. They purchase different type of work material. He brings it to one godown in Noida. He has one store in Connaught Place in Delhi, one in Navi Mumbai, one in Srinagar. He has got 6 stores. And retail business. दुकान के अंदर सब सजा के रखा है, लोग आते हैं शो पीसेस परचेस करके जाते हैं। द क्लाइंट सेज कि मेरा बजट लिमिटेड है, आपको इंटरनल ऑडिटर अपॉइंट कर रहा हूं, आप मेरे को बोलो क्या करूं। इन्वेंटरी वाई ले बात में मैं वाई थोड़ा सा बहुत कुछ टेंशन नहीं।
No, because they are procuring different types of material
Yeah,
and inventory is located in multiple locations with the finished goods also.
very good,
Could be multiple risks in inventory management.
very good. He sees inventory is higher risk area, you also feel that. Why? एक माइक मैडम को भी दो, एक मेरे आप में दो। हाँ, why inventory? तब तक आप लोग सोचो दूसरा क्या, 4-6 प्रोसेस तो करने पड़ेंगे साल में, बोलो।
There are multiple stores, multiple stores. I don't know from where it has been issued. जो procure किया है, कहाँ गया है, कहाँ से issue हुआ है।
तो अलग अलग स्टोर्स है, कितने स्टोर्स पे कितना इन्वेंटरी पड़ा है। अगर कोई जगह पे एक आइटम चला गया जो महंगा आइटम है लेकिन उधर वो परचेज नहीं कर रहे, तो उधर वो पड़ा रहेगा, उधर से उसको दूसरी जगह पे शिफ्ट करना पड़ेगा। और अगली बार ये भी देखना पड़ेगा कि ये प्रोडक्ट ये श्रीनगर में नहीं चल रहा है तो उधर नहीं भेजने का, ये कम भेजने का, 50 क्वांटिटी भेजना, 5 भेजना, ठीक है। So inventory really becomes important because it's 6 stores and 1 warehouse. I don't understand what you mean by revenue control. बोलो क्या क्या रिस्क है and why will you do revenue?
As in an item is sold, cash is received and not deposited. So
Okay.
it's cash verification.
तो हर रिटेल स्टोर में बाटा हो या मैकडॉनल्ड्स हो या फिर आपका रिलायंस रिटेल हो या रिलायंस फ्रेश हो या डीमार्ट हो, चोरी होने का चांस है। बंदा पॉकेट कर देगा, आपका बिल एयरपोर्ट में बनेगा, कैश जेब में डाल के घर पे लेके जाएगा, टीवी की मेडिंग दूसरे दिन लाके रख देगा, वो रिस्क है, ठीक है। पॉकेट ही कर देगा, वो रिस्क है। बिल बना के बिल डिलीट कर देगा बाद में अगर फैसिलिटी है तो वो दिखेगा ही नहीं। इन्वेंटरी का माइनस को किसको मालूम है, इतना बड़ा डिमांड से कौन रोज फिजिकल वेरिफिकेशन करता है। तो दैट कैन हैपन, वेरी गुड एंड दैट कैन हैपन, आई एम सेइंग एनीथिंग एल्स एंड व्हाट एल्स इन रेवेन्यू। आप लोग तो गए हुए हैं ना रिटेल स्टोर में, आई एम जस्ट कमिंग टू यू नाउ, हियर आई एम कमिंग टू यू।
Cash collection, credit card, and station.
कैश कलेक्शन, क्रेडिट कार्ड रिकंसिलिएशन, व्हाई, व्हाट इज द रिस्क, क्या होता है।
Customers are given cash is not getting deposited.
आज के 8 घंटे की शिफ्ट में 2 लाख रुपए का सेल हुआ, 2 लाख के सेल में 40,000 रुपया का क्रेडिट कार्ड है, फिर कुछ डेबिट कार्ड है, फिर कुछ जीपे, कुछ पीपे, कुछ कैश है। तो शिफ्ट के एंड में कॉस्ट से स्टेटमेंट आएगा, तुमसे बोर्ड से आया कितना आया वो डायरेक्शन, फिर कैश काउंट करके रिकंसाइल करेंगे। फिर आज की 3 शिफ्ट का पैसा या 2 शिफ्ट का पैसा 2 या 3 दिन बाद कलेक्शन एजेंसी मेरे बैंक में क्रेडिट करेगा। 40,000 क्रेडिट कार्ड का 40 आया, 39,400 आया, वो लॉस क्या करेंगे, उसका रिकंसिलिएशन इट बिकम सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। वेरी गुड, यस प्लीज।
कोडिंग है तो फॉरेन करेंसी में ऑडिट करना पड़ेगा बिकॉज अगर फॉरेन ट्रांजैक्शंस तो कुछ करने कम।
चलो इंपोर्ट नहीं है अभी तो सब लोकल है, लेकिन आप प्रोक्योरमेंट में चले गए, तीसरा एरिया खोल दिया भाई, हम लोग तो सेकंड नहीं है। ये लोग पहला इन्वेंटरी बोले, फिर अभी ये लोग रेवेन्यू पे आ गए भाई साहब, अभी आप प्रोक्योरमेंट पे चले गए। इसलिए प्रोक्योरमेंट इज इंपॉर्टेंट, but procurement में one risk is given, there are so many other risks. Sorry.
Verification of credit notes and deleted invoice or edited.
In revenue, अगर क्रेडिट नोट है तो डिलीटेड इनवॉइस है तो डिलीटेड इनवॉइस देखना ही पड़ेगा। यस, व्हाट एल्स। कस्टमर लेके बाहर निकल गया तो बाहर कोडिंग होता है, जितना बाहर निकले वो बचने लगता है, ठीक है। तो आगे बढ़ेगी टैली एक्सेट्रा, दैट इज वन थिंग, बट स्टिल एम्प्लॉयज कैन आल्सो डू द सेम। एम्प्लॉयज का चेक होता है, फ्रिस्किंग होता है, एक्टिविटी होता है निकलते समय, तो छोटा छोटा चीज होता है, जो भी हो सकता है। तो देयर इज अ शॉर्टेज एक्सेट्रा,
refund sales return given, refund किया customer को।
सेल्फ रिटर्न, रिफंड, यू आल्सो सेड दैट, कैंसलेशन एक्सेट्रा, वेरी गुड।
Verification of discount.